Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 3 of the Life of Gaming podcast. Welcome to the show. I will be your captain on this intergalactic video game cruise of greatness. And you all know my second in command, the Chewbacca to my Han Solo, Mr. Josh the Beard Brandt. How you doing today, sir?
Hello, everyone. Wow, that was a epic intro there, James.
Thank you. I figured Chewbacca would work with, the whole beard thing going on.
I'm terrible at that.
That's okay.
Are you still snowed in over there?
Yeah, it's still kind of snowy. It's not too bad. It's starting to melt. This weekend's supposed to be kind of warm, so
it's like record snowfalls for Cincinnati, but
wow.
yeah, I'm starting to get out now.
That's
Once
good.
It's 50 next week, that'll be nice. So.
melt. Then you're gonna have flooding, so that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, another basement.
Right.
You could do that.
Well, like I said, welcome to the show. We are here to talk about video games. It's what we love and what we love to talk about. We are two guys with a passion for it, and we just have, trying to find time in our married lives to get the gaming in. And so we decided to take, one night every few weeks just to sit down and discuss what's going on in the gaming world. And with the Life of Gaming podcast, we know that there are a lot of really awesome material getting made out there by, our listeners and other people out there, making podcasts or YouTube videos or writing reviews, whatever it is you do. We want to hear about it, and we'd love to have you on the show because we just love talking about what's going on in the industry. And our guest this week, we have Corey from the D-Pad Gamecast. How you doing today, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Glad to have you here, sir. We are very glad to have you here. So I guess to get started, before we get into the game stuff, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in Akron, Ohio, so I'm a fellow Ohio native. And
birthplace of football.
Right. And I live with my girlfriend, and we've been together for almost 2 years.
Awesome.
And I work at a restaurant, and I work in the kitchen. It's quite an adventure going to work every day, I'll tell you what.
pretty exciting stuff.
Right.
Actually, I used to work at a Steak and Shake back in the kitchen for a while through college. Oh, it was a horrible job. So glad to be out of that.
You didn't like all the milkshakes?
Oh, no, it was not that great of a job. I still like eating there, but yeah, working there was not that great. But I guess tell us a little bit about what you're doing on the gaming side of things.
Well, I started a website about 2 months ago called D-Pad Gamescast, where I've just been writing opinion pieces and previews, and more recently I've been starting to write reviews. So you can check it out at dpadgamescast.wordpress.com, and we have a Facebook page and a Twitter. So you can come check us out and see what we're all about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any...
Your reviews are really awesome. I mean, everything that you write, the previews, reviews, I mean, you can tell care has been put into it and that you've researched, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Awesome. I mean, is there any particular story or review you've put up recently that you're proud of, you really want people to check out?
Well, a couple things. My first really big review was the Majora's Mask remake for 3DS. So go ahead and check that out. Put a lot of hard work into that. Because that's just, one of my favorite games of all time, playing Majora's Mask. When it first came out, I played through it over a whole weekend and beat it in a weekend because I loved it so much. And
Dang.
It was quite hard for a 13-year-old to do that in a weekend. So, but I'm really glad Nintendo decided to re-release it and remaster a lot of the things that were wrong with it. So that's probably the one thing I'm really proud of. And let's see. The Zelda preview that I put up, pretty proud of that as well. The Zelda Wii U coverage that I put up.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, Majora's Mask, that is a really good game. And I actually went back and started playing through it a little bit on the the Wii Virtual Console, I guess, would be on the Wii U. But yeah, that's a really good game. That's a great game.
Yeah, I actually went back and played it about a week before the 3DS version came out, just so I could compare the two, and it was really, I don't know. There's a lot of big changes in that game that you wouldn't notice if you hadn't played it recently. So
Sure. I mean, they really make it feel more like a modern game versus, being on the N64.
right.
Cool. Well, I guess with that, we will get into our news section at what we call Captain's Log. Okay, and today I guess we're going to hit up, I like to take it and hit, news in each section, PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox. And actually today I have a lot more news that's multi-platform, but I guess I'll hit the few key stories that are on each industry first. So at PlayStation, there was actually a pretty funny story that came out on Sony's side. In Japan, they were having a contest for the 20th anniversary PlayStation 4s they were having. And, they announced the winners and everything was going great. And then they lost all the entries. And they said, we're sorry. And they had to start the contest over. I'm sorry, but if I was one of the people that won, they go, oh, no, I'm sorry. We take that back. You can try again, though.
Oh my
Did
gosh,
they
if
were
I
they
won, I
actually able to find?
No, they lost it. They had it on like a server or something. They went down. They lost it all. They lost
That's
all the list
insane.
of all the winners. Yeah, and so the people that won these 20th anniversary PlayStations, because those are really hard to find. I mean, those are going for big money on eBay after that PlayStation event. So I would be kind of mad.
Yeah, I would have been furious if I was one of the winners.
But
those things are
So did
pretty
the
slick.
the winners didn't know though. So
I don't know.
I
I mean, all they said was they came out and said everyone that won, we lost all the data, so everyone try again. So I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming they didn't find out exactly who the winners.
Yeah.
They probably didn't go to the winners saying, "Hey, you won." Just kidding.
yeah. Oh
Right.
man, that would just be
But
wrong.
yeah, but even still, I mean, wouldn't it be frustrating to go through a contest and just the odds of I could have been a winner? I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess the other good thing for PlayStation, though, they just announced a limited edition Metal Gear Solid 5 console coming out with Phantom Pain. I don't know if have you guys checked that out yet?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen it. Corey, it looks slick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I'm like really thinking about just pre-ordering that sucker and trading in my black one for that. It's really awesome.
So, I mean, you probably have to do a system transfer. Oh, no way. Just kidding. That's just Nintendo.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
Thanks,
have to-
Mr. Nintendo.
Don't have to bust open the back to put in a new memory card.
Right.
None of that stuff.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Well, for Xbox, Microsoft actually announced a few different things. The first thing, Fable Legends, they've been talking about that game for a while coming to Xbox One, and they also mentioned it coming to PC. Well, with that game, it's going to be free to play now, so you can get it on your Xbox and your PC. There's going to be cross-play between the two. So one thing that Xbox is starting to do, they're doing a lot of cross-play between Windows 10 and Xbox One, which is nice. Another thing that they're doing that kind of goes hand in hand with that, they announced they're going to be doing cross-buy with a lot of their games. I can't remember off the top of my head which games they were, but I know with future releases that are coming out, they're going to have them on, Xbox One and PC, so you can jump between the two. If you buy it on one, you get it on the other. So I know PlayStation's doing that with the Vita. Nintendo is starting, they're slowly getting into doing it with the Wii U and the 3DS. So it's kind of nice that even though Xbox only has one system, they can still jump between the PC too. So you're getting both for the price of one.
But
so that's nice.
the caveat with that is, I think that it has to be a home PC. Like you couldn't do it on like a work one or take your laptop.
It has to be a
somewhere.
Windows. It has to be a Windows 10 device. So as long as you
Yes.
have, it's like a Windows 10. But Windows 10 can also be on laptops, things like that. But as for low running tablets, probably not.
Yeah, I think they also announced for tablets.
Well, I know with the streaming service, they're doing that on tablets as well. I think, where you'll be able to stream your Xbox to your tablet, which would be pretty nice.
James,
Right.
what do you think about the Fable Legends free-to-play deal? Do you think that's a good idea, or
I think yes, just for the fact that it's going to be one of those games where it's set up where you can play as one character and you build their stats up, and then a month or so later, it'll switch out another character. and you can play with that character. And then a few months later, when the other character rolls back around, those stats you earned before will carry over. So you're always building your characters up. But if you want to have that character and keep them forever, you're going to have to pay for it. So, I mean, it's a microtransaction thing where everybody will get to enjoy this game because I think Fable Legends is one of those games where it was going to get overlooked. There were so many big games coming out that game was just going to get overlooked. I think at least this way, it's going to get many more people playing it. And through microtransactions, they'll probably, hopefully, be able to make their money back on that.
Yeah, Corey, you seem a little shaky on this one.
I think that they announced it going free to play. I think that says a lot about not only what we, like, the consumer thinks about that game, but maybe what they think about that game internally. Because, like, outside of E3 press conferences and, like, trade shows and stuff, they haven't really shown a lot of that game. And, like, a lot of other outlets have, like, really been mediocre at best on that game. And, like, maybe going free to play really is going to push it to, you know, gain more attraction. So
yeah,
sure.
Fable 3, I heard a lot of negative press about that game.
Yeah,
I know Fable 1 and 2 were highly regarded, but yeah, I don't know. The free to play for me is just a red flag for any type of franchise. I mean, I just don't see.
Sorry to cut you off, but the way they're taking this franchise is not the direction that fans want it to go.
Yeah,
like,
that's very true.
Fable 1 and 2 are really, really highly regarded, especially for me because I loved Fable 2. I played the crap out of that game. But, you know, the Journey, when that came out, that Kinect game that came out for 360, like...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
That did okay, and now they're doing this 4v1 thing, and now it's free to play.
Yeah.
I don't know how people are going to react.
They lack direction.
Really. Sure.
Really.
Well, that's another question I have for you guys then. It is like the cool video game craze now to do 4v1. And, I mean, it just seems to be, you know, that's the popular thing to do.
Evolve.
But what do you guys think about that? Yeah, like Evolve and like with Fable Legends coming out. What do you guys think about this whole 4v1, like, party going on right now?
I think it's... I like the idea because they're trying to innovate in ways and maybe have different play throughs for different people just to get different gameplay elements into a game, make it last longer. I haven't played Evolve yet, but I've heard good things. If you're an online multiplayer person, that it's quite positive. I don't play online games.
I mean, I was actually in the Evolve beta, and I really enjoyed it. But the only thing is, with a lot of my game time, you know, trying to fit it into my schedule, it's hard for me to get a group of 5 people together to play one game. And so being online multiplayer, I mean, that's great, but I feel like I need the single player there. Just for me personally, I'll get more out of it if I have that single player versus just being online multiplayer.
Yeah, speaking of free to play, I think Evolve would have been the perfect game. Like that 4v1 style that game has. I think that would have been a perfect free-to-play. Now, I don't know if they were considering it during development or not, but just the way that game's DLC plan is laid out and the way you have to unlock characters, I just think that would have been the perfect way to go for that game.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up too much on Evolve, but I know if you pre-ordered it, you got like a special monster DLC, but if you didn't, it was going to cost like 15 or 20 bucks or something crazy like that for that one monster. So that seems a bit, you know, excessive.
Right.
Sure.
I don't know. I just read somewhere that it was going to cost like upwards of $135 just to get all the DLC. Now, it's not like... It's all cosmetic stuff, but still.
Yeah. I mean, that can get frustrating in a lot of games. But I mean, at the same time, it's there if you want it. You don't have to buy it.
Yeah. But I think that might also be there to kind of attract the PC crowd because a lot of, like, League of Legends and games like Dota and stuff pay for cosmetic items, so maybe that's what all the DLC was for. But
another big thing for Xbox, they announced that they're starting to... Well, if you remember when Xbox first started talking about their indie games, they said, you come to Xbox first, or you come to Xbox at the same time as everybody else, or you don't come to Xbox at all. And a lot of people got kind of mad at that. And because people were saying they were holding up games because they had released on Xbox at the same time. But recently, Xbox came out and said, we're going to soften that up a little bit. If you come to us, you can still come to us later. That's totally fine. We understand being an indie developer, you can't, make for 3 systems or however many all at the same time. So if you have to bring it to us later, that's fine. But you need to bring some kind of extra, levels or DLC or something with that to be able to bring it to our system. And to go hand in hand with that story, Shovel Knight, which is already out on Wii U and 3DS, they've already have it coming out for PS4 and Vita, I believe, next month, and now it's going to be coming to Xbox. And on the Xbox version, they're adding Battletoads as characters in the game, where PS4 is getting, Kratos from God of War. So, what do you guys think about that? I mean, do you think it's a good thing now that Xbox sort of stepping back and, okay, you can bring it to us later. That's okay.
Yeah, I really think that that's what they needed to do in the first place, because they aren't getting some of the games that PS3 got that 360 didn't get. So bringing games like Shovel Knight over, I think that's a smart idea, especially after a year after release, and that's such a hot game from last year. And PS4 gets Kratos DLC.
Yeah.
So
what do you think, Josh?
I think it's a good idea.
That goes hand in hand. They were falling behind, with all the blunders that happened when the Xbox One first came out.
Sure.
And now, they're making all the right moves now.
Yeah.
They weren't endorsing indies. PS4 or Sony, caved into that, and it's paid off for them so far. So it's good to see that, Microsoft is seeing that, hey, these indies are, are good for the business.
Yeah. That's where a lot of things are going now. Before, you had your AAA game, and you had your cheaper game, and you kind of had that game right in the middle, which we've sort of lost that. But now we've got these big AAA games from, EA and, all these other bigger companies, and then you have these indie games to fill in all those gaps. So that's really nice. Wii U is also getting a lot of indie games, too. They just announced a whole bunch coming to Wii U as well. So indie games are really picking up steam. That's the way to go now. Plus to make it so, they're making it so accessible too. They're making it very easy for developers to make games and port it onto whatever system they want. So that's great for the developing side.
Awesome.
On Nintendo, Corey, are you into Amiibo much? Are you a collector?
I would say I am a collector.
Are you a fanatic collector?
Some people might say I'm a little obsessed. But I haven't gone so far as to be paying $50, $60 for a figure yet.
Sure.
I think I'm still in the normal collector range.
Well, I guess Nintendo sent out a tweet saying, not so long ago, I think it was beginning of the week or so, saying the gold Mario Amiibo, which is exclusive to Walmart, you can pre-order now, and it was gone in like 15 minutes. Were you able to secure one of those?
Yes,
I
did pre-order one, and I do have I haven't gotten it canceled yet, so we'll see.
Well, you never. The day is young, so you've got.
I am cautiously optimistic about this gold Mario.
Sure.
But the story that's been going on the whole week has been fascinating. Like that, even eBay is tweeting out, "Hey, the Walmart Amiibo is sold out, but you can get it here."
Yep.
Even promoting, like people selling it. So
the scalpers. There's as soon as those sold out on Walmart.com, minutes later there were tons of them on eBay for $20 or not $20 for like $200. The price skyrocketed on those. Although Nintendo did come out and say, "Don't worry, guys, pre-ordering is not the only way you can get those. We will have them in store." So I feel kind of bad for the people that went on there and paid like, $200 for this gold Mario Amiibo when they could just walk into Walmart and pick. Not saying they will be able to, but if they do make more than what they normally do for their Amiibo.
Don't feel bad for them. That's if they're going to pay that much, then yeah.
Sure. Good old Nintendo and their, with Nintendo, I understand it's money-wise, all they do is video games. They don't have anything else to fall back on, so they've got to keep their budget tight, and they don't want to, make too much of something and not be able to sell it. So they're trying to make just enough that they can, just enough to be profitable. They want to make sure what they're manufacturing sells. And so they're keeping their numbers low. But at the same time, I mean, it's really giving scalpers and, people that find, I mean, if you find a special limited, or, an Amiibo that's hard to find, you're like, oh my gosh, like, it's just like, it's made your day. It's like finding gold. And that's just, it's amazing.
Right.
But you guys and your Amiibos.
That's right.
But
another thing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing about Nintendo is I understand that they short supply things to try to remain profitable and sell through their inventory and stuff. But once they see the reaction of fans, why don't they produce more?
Sure.
Just not necessarily enough to fill their first orders, but they sell out of their initial inventory. Why not make maybe a quarter more of that product to sell through again?
Sure.
Why don't they do that? That's my biggest issue with Nintendo. As much as I love them,
Well, one interesting thing that I heard about, that I was reading online about, Nintendo came out and said why it's so hard for them to make these quickly. These things are hand painted. That's crazy.
Jeez.
So they said it's taking a lot of time to manufacture, much longer than something else. They said the detail they put into it, because when you pick up an Amiibo, you notice the details there. So that's really nice. But speaking of Amiibo, the next big game that's going to be used in Amiibo is codenamed Steam. And it came out, I think it was Nintendo that tweeted it. Will Wheaton is the voice of Abraham Lincoln in codenamed Steam.
Yeah,
which is very,
Lincoln.
And every time I hear the name Will Wheaton, I always think of Big Bang Theory and Sheldon. Wheaton! I don't know why. Even though I've known him before that just always clicks in my head for some reason. But I guess some people are getting backlash on that. Like some people are saying, I'm not going to buy the game now because Will Wheaton's in it. I can't stand that guy. And it's like he's such a small part of the game. I don't see why that would cause you to not buy it.
Yeah, how much voice acting can they have?
It's a 3DS game.
I know,
so
really, in a 3DS game.
Probably not that much.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man. The other big thing from Nintendo, it's kind of Nintendo related. Sega is teasing that they're doing something with Game Freak, which is the people that make Pokemon. And Pokemon, Game Freak, I mean, Nintendo kind of owns Pokemon. They license it with Game Freak. But Game Freak is not owned by Nintendo, so they can make games outside of Nintendo if they want to. And so a lot of people are thinking this might be a mobile game, but who knows? I mean, but Sega and Game Freak coming together, I mean, it could be something good. You never know.
I think that, they're just going to put Sonic and Pokemon and call it a day.
Right.
That way they can say he's relevant
Pokemon
again.
Dynasty Warriors.
Right. Oh, man. The other big news this week, Josh, I don't know if you'd be excited about this or not. Rock Band 4 was announced for Xbox One and PS4. It's been rumored for a long time. I mean, Rock Band, man, that was such a great game. It was so fun. We played it a lot in college and things like that. But, being married now, we don't really have as much time for it. We don't have the space for the instruments.
Oh,
the last time we played it was when, my brother-in-law at his bachelor party, we pulled it out and played some Rock Band again. But other than that, I mean, it just sits in my closet.
Yeah, I would not be able to probably store that anywhere. My wife would have a fit if I had all these plastic instruments lying around.
Right.
So I think it's awesome that they're bringing it back because it was an enjoyable game. But
absolutely.
It's something that, it's just too much. Unless my son gets into it.
Hey, there you go. Hey, that could get him into music, Because
That's
one
true.
really nice thing about this Rock Band 4 they've announced, they're working really hard to get all your old DLC to carry over. It's family specific, so if you bought it on 360, it only worked on Xbox One. If you bought it on PS3, you can only play it on PS4. If you bought it on Wii, you're screwed because the game is not coming to Wii U. But I think Rock Band coming back should be, they want to get back to the roots of what Rock Band is, so that's great.
Yeah, I think it's good that Rock Band's coming back, but Activision is just going to push Guitar Hero out now,
Sure.
and I think they're just going to flood it again, and the same thing's going to happen.
Sure.
As much as I really enjoyed Rock Band and Guitar Hero at the beginning, but
Yeah.
I just they had 8-9 disc-based games, Guitar Hero, in 5 years.
Yeah, I had
so
quite a few. Now that's one thing Harmonix said. They said we're making Rock Band 4. This is for the whole generation. We're not going to do 5, 6, 7, 8. We're just going to keep adding DLC, patching it, and making it better. So that's actually that's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so it's more like a platform instead of you buy new discs every 2 years or whatever.
Sure.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Corey, I'm getting a little interference on your mic there. I don't know. I don't know if it's a bad cable or something. Yeah, there it is. The other big story that happened this week that a lot of people are talking about, Batman Arkham Knight. They came out and said it's getting an M rating. It's going to be the first Batman game in history to get an M rating. What do you think it's going to be, Josh?
Well, I was more surprised by the fact that the other games were M rated. I thought the other games were M. I wouldn't play those games in front of my son for how I mean when you're bashing people's heads into the concrete. I mean, it's not like they're dead already.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super surprised that City wasn't M rated. I had to go back and look at the box. I was like, wait a minute, City was a teen rated game,
right?
And that's what I went back to. Yeah, I looked at the box and I'm like, oh, it is teen. So yeah, but I think this is a great idea just because it can open up the storyline in so many different ways. Like maybe someone gets shot early, a main character, that they couldn't do in the other games, and just story wise, I think it's really going to help.
Sure. So what?
Yeah, I think they're going to use it to establish Arkham Knight and what type of character he is, because they already said that he's not going to be like Batman. He's kind of just out for justice, but he's going to do it any way he needs to, not have that one rule that Batman always has. So
sure. I mean, so pretty much what you're saying is that at the beginning of the game, Batman gets shot, and then it goes, "Ha ha! You spent $60 on our game."
Now you play as the Arkham Knight.
I know that would be horrible.
That's like a Metal Gear Solid 2 Raiden all over again.
Right. Oh, man. Well, that's pretty much it for the big news stories. I mean, is there anything else that you guys can think of before we move on to our next section?
Nope.
Okay. That makes it easy. Well, real quick, we're going to hit our budget games. We're going to talk my 2 cents. Just what can you get cheap right now? The first thing, PlayStation, they've got their Spring Fever sale going on. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Spring Fever sale for 8 weeks. They're going to have one new game each week based off of an indie space. And first up was Helldivers. Then you got some marquee matchups like Bastion, the Crown Jewel, which is Shovel Knight at the end. I can't wait for that. And it's 10% off for each game. So if you're a PS Plus member. And yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I'm an indie game lover anyway. So, I mean, this is right up my alley for games I want to play. Hotline Miami 2.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing the heck out of Hotline Miami in preparation for that. So.
I actually have Hotline Miami 1 on my PlayStation 3, but I've actually never touched it.
Play it.
It was free on PlayStation Plus one time, and I have it downloaded. I've got it on my system. I've never touched it.
Yeah, I got it on my Vita. I think that's the one time I picked up my Vita in the last year was to play Hotline Miami.
Well, I mean, is there anything? I know you have a PlayStation 4. Is there anything in that sale that that you're excited for?
Well, like I said, Shovel Knight. That's the one I can't wait for. There's Bastion. There was one Hotline. I think they got Jamestown Plus. I think it's isn't that like a shooter? Corey, do you know anything about that? Or
I don't know anything about that game. I'd have to look it up.
Sure. Okay, but yeah, there's some. I mean, just look at the sale. I mean, some good indie titles to get. Titan Souls. That's another one. It's sort of like a Shadow of Colossus 8-bit, which looks pretty awesome. You have one arrow that you got to use to kill this thing, but you can bring it back to you, and from the videos I saw, it's just very strategic, and you have to plan everything.
And the art direction is gorgeous in that game.
The music too. Oh, how can I forget
yeah.
Axiom Verge?
Oh my gosh.
That's
How do
probably
we
the
forget
my
Axiom
gosh.
Verge?
Yeah, Shovel
Wow.
Knight and Axiom Verge. Those are reasons enough for this
Wow.
awesome sale.
Josh, the look on your face
that's
when you
ma-
realize you forgot Axiom Verge was
Man, I was like,
priceless.
what's wrong with me?
Like,
I
you
saw
just
the
looked
beard
like
roll up
you shocked yourself.
into your chin.
It was hidden in my beard somewhere.
Right.
Hidden in there.
Oh my gosh.
Metrovania lovers, I mean, you got to go out and get this game. I mean, from the previews I saw, it's right up the alley. I mean, they use glitches in the game to actually progress the story. Like, you can use certain guns to, see through the walls, go through them. I mean, it's very exploratory. Yeah, keep it on the radar.
Well, that's cool. Also, this month for PlayStation Plus, the games that we'll have for free, you can get Oddworld New and Tasty, Ollie Ollie 2, and Valiant Hearts, which we talked about last time. Valiant Hearts is a great game. So, get all three because they're free, obviously, but make sure you play Valiant Hearts. That is my suggestion to you.
Yeah, that's a home run right there.
Yeah, I'm going to download it after this podcast recording and play it a little bit, I think. I haven't played it yet, so I'm excited to
Well, you're in for a
dive
treat,
into
sir.
Yes, get on it.
Also with Xbox, their games for gold this month they announced. On Xbox One, you can still get iDarb for free. That's still up there. But they also added Rayman Legends. So if you haven't played Rayman Legends, make sure you check that out.
That is probably the best platformer in the last
That game is absolutely, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's a really pretty game. The platforming, well, I guess combat too. The platforming is fantastic. The music levels are amazing. There's so many great things about that game. One thing I will say, though, I actually owned it on Wii U. And then when I saw it was coming out for Xbox One, I'm like, okay, I'll just use the Xbox One because I need cash for something else. So I traded in the Wii U version because I figured I'd have it on Xbox One because I already 100%ed the Wii U version. So I'm like, well, there's no reason for me to go back to that. I'll just get on Xbox One. It'll be fine. But one thing I will say, with the Wii U version, you could tell that game, like originally it was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive. And you can tell because there's levels in there where you're like Murphy. What is he, like a fly? I think he's a fly or whatever he is. Your little partner guy, and you do a lot of the stuff on the gamepad. You have to, draw to cut through, stuff. You can tickle enemies and like there's all this crazy stuff you do on the gamepad. And on the Xbox, it's just like press B. Press B.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just like,
Yeah.
It doesn't have that same magic that the Wii U version does. I still really enjoy it, but I feel like the Wii U version is better. But if you do not have a Wii U, get it on Xbox One. Absolutely.
I guarantee it.
Right. Now, Corey, are you a Rayman Legends guy? Or Rayman at all, I should say. I mean, do you play those games at all?
I 100%ed Rayman Origins on 360.
Oh, okay, cool.
Wow.
That game was awesome. And then I got the Wii U one, got about halfway through it, and then I got distracted by something else. But
Sure.
I got to tell you, it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played in my life. And it's just, the platforming's awesome. I recommend it to everybody. If you have a Wii U, I would definitely get it for that. But hey, free is free on Xbox One.
Absolutely, get it for free. And
Can't go wrong.
On the 360, I mean, there's some free game love over there too. Tomb Raider, the reboot, that's going to be free the first half of the month. As you know, as I mentioned on the podcast before, the new Tomb Raider for Xbox One, that's probably one of my most excited for games of this year. So if you haven't played the reboot, go ahead and do that because that game it's awesome. The second half of the month, another amazing game. You're going to get BioShock Infinite for free. So both of those games, if you have a 360, don't be an idiot. Grab those.
Especially BioShock Infinite.
Absolutely. Those are all those games are absolutely fantastic. On the Nintendo side of things, I know they don't have free games, but I did find a couple places you can save. Right now, on Nintendo's website, you can get a refurbished Wii U with Super Mario 3D World and Nintendo Land for $225. So you get that discount there. And on the 3DS, I know new 3DSs are out. People still haven't experienced the greatness that is the 3DS, which we'll actually get into later in the show. But with that right now at Best Buy, if you buy a 3DS, you can get a game case for it for 50% off. So if you got to protect it, keep those smudges off. You can get a game case for it. You can get it cheap if you buy it at Best Buy. So that's what we got for our My 2 Cents section. Is there anything else you guys can think of savings-wise?
No, I think you hit on it.
Okay, because I know last time, Josh, you brought up that Best Buy deal where it was like $30 for their program.
Yeah, that's not even
But
running
I guess,
anymore.
well, actually, from what I heard, they're actually keeping it at that price now because it sold really well. So from what my understanding, they're actually keeping it at the $30 price now. So,
two other things for
sure.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars came out today, and it's cross-buy
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, the first
with
cross-buy.
Wii U and 3DS, and Ollie Ollie 2 is also cross-buy.
Yeah, that's one cool thing Nintendo, like we said before, Nintendo's finally getting to cross-buy, which is nice. Now all they have to do is get that on the Virtual Console,
Yeah,
and we'll be
seriously.
set. Well, with that,
Ollie Ollie, no, I was just gonna say Ollie Ollie 2 is free on the PS Vita for PS Plus.
Oh, was it?
So
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I've never played Ollie Ollie. All I know is it's a skateboarding game, and it used to be a mobile game, right?
It's addictive. Yeah, it's addictive.
Well, I'll have to check it out on Wii U and 3DS and see how good it is. Then give it a go.
Yes, if you will.
Right. Well, with that, guys, we're gonna get into what we've been playing in the section we call Time Logged. So, Corey, I guess we'll start with you. What have you been playing lately, man?
Well, since when you contacted me to be on the podcast and you said that we're going to discuss old handheld classics, I've been playing a lot of Link's Awakening, been going back to some old Game Boy games, Tetris, so I've been delving into some classics.
Awesome. I know
Super Mario Land 2.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's a classic.
Josh,
Yeah.
I know Link's Awakening. You love your Link's Awakening.
Best Zelda ever made, gentlemen.
We
heard it
we
here.
agree to disagree, but that's okay.
It's in my top 3
There you go.
Zelda games.
Personally,
I
for
wouldn't
me,
say the best.
Yeah, I understand that. Personally, for me, it's my favorite. But hey,
Sure.
I'll take the.
It's all right. My favorite's not exactly the best Zelda game either. So
Sure.
Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game.
See,
but
I'm there
we'll
with
save
you,
that
man.
for
Twilight
another
Princess is such a good game.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, guys.
Oh, you're
it's
such
a good
nice
game.
guy.
It's a good game.
And for me, for art style wise, I don't know why, I just really like the atmosphere and the style of that Zelda game. That's what drew me into that one. I mean, combat and puzzle wise, it's not the best, but just the world, that's my favorite Zelda game. Twilight
for
Princess,
sure.
Absolutely. Is there anything you've been playing on console wise? I mean, I know you said you're playing classic handhelds. Is there anything you're doing on your PS4 or Wii U or anything like that?
I've been replaying The Order slowly
Oh, okay.
on hard, and still The Order, but it's a very, very awesomely okay game.
Sure.
It's visually stunning. There's just not a lot of long periods where you're shooting guys. It's all quick time events, and I think maybe they hit what they were going for, but Sony didn't really advertise it the right way.
Sure.
I don't know. The reception's been really weird, but I enjoy it. I like
Good.
it a lot,
Well,
just because it's a game that kind of respects my time,
Sure.
and I can sit and play it for about 45 minutes and be satisfied with what I've done.
Sure. I mean, you have a
So-
review for that game up on your D-Pad Gamecast site, correct?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I gave it a 6.75. There's quite a few things wrong with it, but there's a lot that they got right that
Sure.
I think if Sony continues with the series, it could be a really powerful series for them, I think, in the future. So
So at
We'll
least it
see.
gives them a good building or a good foundation to build off of. So that's good.
Yeah,
Right.
Corey, do you see this as like for PS3 when the first Uncharted came out? It was a good game. Maybe not great, but then Uncharted 2 just
Blew it away.
blew
Sure,
everyone away. Yeah, it could.
Yeah,
I think it could be in that similar vein.
yeah, I would say that. It's not quite as good as the first Uncharted was, but I think, like I said, if they just flesh out some of the gameplay and pacing, it could very easily be up in the 9.5 range easily.
Wow.
Because it's already a beautiful game, and some of the controls need unified and streamlined, but other than that, I enjoy it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, Josh, what have you been up to lately?
Well,
What have
to
you been
get
doing
ready
with your
for this to get ready for this handheld podcast, I've been actually going to the Vita for some inspiration.
And you found nothing. I'm just I'm
Got
just
my
messing with you, man.
Danganronpas, JRPGs. No, I've been playing The Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Oh, okay.
And Corey, have you played this on the PS4 by chance?
I have not, but I have it downloaded. It's sitting right in front of me on the library, so I'm going to check it out eventually when I find time.
Sure.
If your masochistic inner self comes to terms here, you need to try it. I mean,
my goodness.
For dungeon crawlers, it's
Well, that
one
sounds
of a kind.
delightful.
No, I absolutely love it. I mean,
Cool.
Consider me addicted. Like I was to Dark Souls. I just want to continue on. All the items you get, and it took me 5 hours. There were these certain items I got, and I didn't even know I didn't even know you could use them. I thought they were just passive.
Oh my
abilities,
gosh.
and I just discovered you could use them. I'm like, whoa.
That makes the game so much easier.
Yeah. Man, I should have did that before.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's an awesome game.
You have people listening to this podcast all over the place booing you right now.
Thank you. Also, Hotline Miami. I've been plowing through that for preparation for Hotline Miami 2.
Sure.
And yeah, another great game that's just die many times, but it's rewarding each time.
Well,
you learn
that's what
from
happens
your
every time you
mistakes.
play games, Josh, for you. I mean, you just keep dying over and over again.
He's used to that playing Dark
right.
Souls all the time.
Kirby's Woolly World.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I died like a million times on that.
Josh. Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Oh, okay. No, it's Yoshi.
I think we all know who is not a Nintendo fan on the show. Well, for me, I've actually been going back to Monster Hunter, obviously. That game is so good. It gives me a chance, to check out the new 3DS, get used to it, get comfortable with it. But it's also a really good game. I'm about 20 hours into that, and I'm really loving that. As for console games, lately they've been talking more about the Ratchet and Clank movie, and it sort of got me in the mood to go back and play Ratchet and Clank. So I'm actually going back through the Ratchet and Clank collection on my PS3. So I've been, sort of dabbling in that. I mean, that's a game I can just sort of casually sit down, run around, collect some bolts and get through a planet. I mean, those games are really, really good. The old ones, I mean, the time, like the Crack in Time, and those series on the PS3 were definitely a lot better. The old ones, they didn't age as well, but that foundation's still there, so it's still really enjoyable.
So I also want to hit on Helldivers. It just came out.
Oh, okay, sure.
I've been playing sort of that ad nauseum just recently.
Yeah.
Just because I wrote a review for
Ooh.
the D-Bad Gamecast, just throwing that out there. But I did enjoy it.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. It's
self-promotion.
It's an awesome game. I mean, you got to be on the online centric list to enjoy it, but I mean, I definitely recommend it. Just get a bunch of guys and go out and shoot stuff.
Well, that sounds like a good time.
It looks like a top-down Destiny is what it looks like.
Exactly, and
just from a visual
review.
perspective.
Right, it's very much like Destiny. Most of your enjoyment will come from playing with other people.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind if you decide to purchase it.
Sure. Okay, well, with that, guys, we will get to our topic of the week, which will be handheld gaming. So the way I've got this set up, pretty much I just made some notes for myself going through the different, at least the major handhelds, when they're released, what their launch price was and just some of the best games on that system. And as I go through and just talk about these different systems, you guys want to chime in sort of, your memories on these different systems, or, your favorite games on the system, or if I, mention something, you say, oh no, that is wrong. Please let me know.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to start with the Game Boy, because the Game Boy was like, I know before the Game Boy, they had the Game & Watches, and do you remember those little Tiger handheld systems? Like, they were just a couple
Yes,
animations.
do I remember
like,
those things.
But
Mr.
I
Game
asked
Watch.
for a Game Boy that first year that it was out when I was little, and I got 2 Tiger Electronic games instead. And I was like,
man.
oh my gosh.
But see, that I'm not really touching on those because those were like a dime a dozen. They were everywhere.
Right.
So we'll start with the big old brick, the Game Boy, which is, that thing still plays. That thing has gone, apparently, there's one in a museum somewhere, I think, where it's like it went to war and it got like bombed or something.
Blown
that still
up.
plays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Game Boy actually released in July of 1989. For $89.99, so it was about $90. So that's not too bad.
That's an awesome price.
Exactly. I mean, and just around the launch time, we had Tetris, we had Super Mario Land 1, and as time went on, we got things like Metroid Prime 2, Kirby's Dream Land, of course, and then as time went on, we got things like Legends of Zelda: Link's Awakening. So, I mean, if you look at the kind of games they made from Super Mario Land 1 to what was coming out at the end, I mean, Nintendo's really good at making a system. Like it's hard to believe it's the same system because the games look so much better by the end of the generation. So, I mean, are there any games on the Game Boy that you remember that really stuck out like as a part of your childhood? Because I know for me, riding home on the bus, because I lived out in the country as a kid, I was the first one getting picked up, and I was the last one being dropped off. So I had a lot of time to game on the bus. And every day I had Kirby's Dream Land. So I had it on my Game Boy, and I would beat it. Like I had enough time to beat the game, because it was a short game, but I had enough time to beat the game every day after school on my way home. So, I mean, that's one of the memories I just remember was Kirby's Dream Land on my Game Boy.
Right. Well, I got a Game Boy about a year after it came out. A year and a half. Christmas of like 1990, I was 4. I only had an Atari up until then, and me and my dad would play Kaboom, and that was the only game I remember until I got my Game Boy. And then my grandma busted out this black cardboard case that said Game Boy on it, and I flipped out. I got Tetris, boxing, and Super Mario Land.
Okay.
And then 3 months later, my cousin got rid of his Game Boy and gave me a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And I thought, this is the greatest day of my life. And I was like, I will never do anything the rest of my life. And I tell you what, that Ninja Turtles game was hard. And it let you pick, there's 6 levels. It let you pick where you wanted to go. And I would always choose level 6 because I wanted to beat the game so bad. And I finally went back about 5 years ago just because I found all my old Game Boys and stuff, pulled it out, finally beat it.
Congratulations, sir.
All these
Mark
years
that off
later.
your bucket list.
22 years later.
There you go.
Beating Ninja Turtles.
Oh, man. What about you, Josh? Is there anything in particular that you remember about Game Boy? I guess there's one thing that I didn't mention, which I probably should have, which is, crazy I didn't. When Game Boy started to slow down, one thing that brought it back and saved it was Pokemon. Because, Josh, I remember going over to your place. I remember we each had red. One of us had red. One of us had blue.
Oh, man.
But we would
Dude,
just
that was
trade
like
our
an
Pokemon.
addiction.
Oh, my gosh, dude. Like, it was brought to school. Pokemon was nuts. But I just wanted to bring that up.
You know how kids have their cell phones in school now.
Right.
That was like our cell phones. Just
Right.
bringing our big old Game Boys in there and trying to hide them under the desk.
Or behind your books. That's right.
Yep. But I
Yeah.
got my first handheld when I was very young too, and I mean, this kid just wanted to sell it. Like one of my friends, he just was like, "I don't want this anymore." He said, "I'll take $4," and I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh, awesome, yeah." I
That's
was
pretty
like,
good.
"Man."
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty darn good. And for a system that
Worth
lasted
every
me 8 or
penny.
9 years.
Oh, yeah.
It was missing the back battery cover, but you just put some duct tape over that. You're okay
Nintendo.
Yes.
Keeps on trucking.
Best
man.
best system makers. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. And when the Game Boy came out, I mean, it was like that green screen, you know, it was like green and gray were kind of like the colors it made until the Game Boy
Yeah.
Pocket came out. When the Game Boy Pocket came out, it kind of fixed that. But before that happened, Sega, you know, because Sega and Nintendo, they were fierce rivals. It's kind of like what's going on with Xbox and Sony now. But Nintendo had the Game Boy. They released it in '89. Sega goes, we want some of that money too. So they're like, but we're going to do it so much better. So they released the Sega Game Gear, and that was in 1991. So 2 years later, they released the Game Gear, and it released for $150. So, you know, that's a pretty penny
Inflation,
more.
yeah.
Exactly. And one thing I want to bring up about the Game Gear, it took 6 AA batteries, and it drained
Yep.
those things so fast because I mean it was full color. I mean, this thing was pretty much like almost like having a Genesis in your hands because I mean it had Sonic on it. I mean, they weren't exact ports, but I mean it was pretty good. It had Sonic on it. It had Road Rash on it. It had like
Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, I mean it.
Yeah.
There were so many good games. I remember, I think Arch Rivals, the basketball game. Like there were so many awesome games I would play on my Game Gear, because I did a lot of handheld gaming as a kid. Because my parents, they traveled a lot for work, and they would take me and my brother with them a lot. And I would have my Game Boy, and I would have my Game Gear, and I would have a big old box of batteries next to me. But I just proof with Nintendo making really awesome games. Even though the Game Gear looked better, sounded better, you know, I always went back to my Game Boy because that Game Gear would die so fast, and the games just did. I just wasn't as attached to my Game Gear. Well, did either of you guys have a Game Gear growing up?
I had one, and you know, I was the smart one who bought a Sega Genesis instead of a Super Nintendo at first. So I was like, when the Game Gear came out, I was like, I need a Sega Genesis in my hand. And then I just remember taking my Game Gear and my Game Boy on a road trip with my parents. Played it for about 2 hours, and the battery died. And I went to my Game Boy, and it didn't die at all. And I was like,
played the entire
I made
trip.
the wrong decision.
Exactly. It only lasts, and then
I know.
I remember just trying to. I liked how you lit the screen. Like you could play it in the dark.
Yes,
Like with the Game
absolutely.
Boy, I'm always trying to like find this light source and like trying to hold it
Sure.
there. Like, it isn't perfect. But
You had one of those worm lights for your Game Boy, didn't you?
yeah, I wasn't smart enough to that. Of course.
Remember that big, I forget what it was called, but it was like this giant case that went over your Game Boy. It was like a huge magnifying glass thing that was like over the top of it and had light on it. I forget what that was called, but yeah, people tried to come up with ways around it to make it, work in the dark. Because, I mean, they did have something called a Game Boy Light, but it only came out in Japan. It was a backlit Game Boy, but it never came out in America. But Nintendo, seeing the color was, hey, color might be a good idea. It took them till 1998. But in 1998, they came up with the Game Boy Color. And it was pretty much kind of like what's going on with the 3DS and new 3DS now. It is pretty much just, it was the Game Boy. It added some color, a little more processing power, but it wasn't a full leap. It was just, it was a partial leap to get them through till their next handheld came out. But the Game Boy Color was a really good game. I mean, it had some of the big games on it. It had Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, which was, at least to my knowledge, if I can remember, the first time you could play the original Super Mario Brothers and take it with you somewhere. I mean, it was a portable Super Mario Brothers, which is awesome. I mean, it also had Pokemon Gold and Silver on it. It had the Game & Watch collection. So all those old Game & Watch games that we were talking about before, they made collections of those you could play on the Game Boy Color. So, I mean, there weren't as many standout games on the Game Boy Color, but you could put in your old games into it, and it would play it would tint them, I guess you would say. Like, it would put a colored hue
Add like
on your
3
old
or
games.
4 other colors. Yeah.
Right. But, I mean, it did the job. I mean, when I had the Game Boy Color, I had that clear purple one where you could see, like, the inside of it.
Yeah, so did I.
You guys and your purple Game Boys.
Right. Hey, I had a purple GameCube,
You know what? You
too.
can just go back to your Vita and play your PS1 classics, all right?
I think I will. Thank you very much.
Hey, Josh, did you ever have a Game Boy Color? I can't remember.
Yeah,
if you did or
actually,
not.
I have one right now.
Do you
Erica's dad actually, he works for like a nursing agency, and
Yeah.
I guess someone left their Game Boy Color
Oh,
there.
jeez.
And if they don't return or come back
So
to
you
get it in a
stole
certain
it.
amount of dollars. No, Erica's dad stole it. No, I'm just kidding. If they don't come back and retrieve it in a certain amount of days, then he gets to keep it. So he kept it, and it came. Yeah, it had Pokemon the yellow one,
Oh.
Pikachu version,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, a few other games. So
Huh.
the sound doesn't work, but
Wow.
I've
Wow.
caught Eli playing that a few times.
That's funny. Well, Corey, I mean, is there anything on the Game Boy Color you can think of? Any memories or anything that, you know? Because I know like Game Boy Color was more of a, like I said, like a middling system. But I mean, is there anything special stand out on that for you?
I just remember playing Link's Awakening DX for the first time in color and
yeah.
thought it was the greatest thing. And then if you played it on, because that was one of those games that you could play on the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color.
Sure.
But if you played it on the Game Boy Color, there was an extra dungeon.
Oh, okay.
And I remember seeing
Extra
that for the
processing
first
power.
time, and being kind of like, whoa,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Sure.
But,
I mean,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Another thing, though, the creator of Metroid actually worked on the Game Boy Color.
Huh.
And so Metroid 2 is actually fully colored if you put it in he calls it the Metroid tent, but it's actually fully colored.
Wow, I did not.
So if you're willing
Learn
to
something
try
new
that
every
out.
day. I did not. That's actually really awesome. I had no idea.
To find that game.
But after the Game Boy, they made the real next step, which was the Game Boy Advance, and that came out in 2001, which really doesn't seem like that long ago. It came out in 2001, and it was $99 US. So it was about $100. So I mean, as time goes on, you can see these handheld prices are going up a little bit. When the Game Boy Advance, I don't know about you guys, but when the Game Boy Advance came out, for me, I was kind of at a stage. I was in high school. I wasn't playing handheld gaming as much, so I didn't hit as many games on there. I do have a few good memories on there. I remember Mario Kart Super Circuit, because that was the first time you could take Mario Kart with you. That was the first portable Mario Kart, and it played great. It had some awesome tracks. I think some of them are still going around. I know in the new Mario Karts, they're always bringing courses back. I also remember I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater for it. It looked like garbage, but I really enjoyed that. But I think my favorite game on that system would have to be Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I actually still have I think they called it Arctic White Game Boy Advance with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga in it. That's the only game I have left. But I still have that.
Yeah, the Game Boy Advance was the first system I got day one. So I got that and Super Mario, and it was Super Mario Advance, which was Super Mario 2 for the NES.
Oh yeah,
And I didn't have very many games for GBA because I went through this phase where gaming wasn't as important
exactly.
to me.
Yeah, that was just kind of that stage for us.
Because you just hit that stage between like 15 and 20 where you're just like, gaming's not really a part of my life. There's too many other things going on. But I just remember that, and Minish Cap I ended up getting.
Oh yeah.
And the Kingdom Hearts game that came out on it I ended up getting.
Yeah, Minish Cap was one that I never got around to play. But then I got in the ambassador program for the 3DS and ended up getting it. So I've actually, dabbled in it a little bit.
Yeah, it's also on the Wii U.
Oh yeah, that's
eShop
right.
too.
It's on the eShop for that now too. That's kind of strange to put them on the Wii U, but actually it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But Josh, did you ever have a Game Boy Advance?
No, I never.
Because I think these next few handhelds I'm going to be talking about, I don't think you ever owned them. But you can always chime in.
But didn't the Advance have a Metroid game for it?
It did. It actually had two. It had Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission.
Yeah, I've heard some good things about those.
And those are both really good games. They actually, now that you're talking about Metroid, if you guys remember, they had a special link cable that went from the Game Boy Advance to the GameCube. And if you had, I want to say it was Metroid Fusion. It unlocked stuff in Metroid Prime on the GameCube. The other thing they did with that, if you remember, they had a few games like Legends of Zelda 4 Swords. It was a game you had to play with Game Boy Advances, I guess, all plugged into GameCube ports on your TV. And they had that Pac-Man game. I don't remember the Pac-Man game because I enjoy the Pac-Man Land games. I actually had that one where all the ghosts would be on the screen. And Pac-Man would be like on the game. It's kind of like what Wii U is doing now, where the people that had the Game Boy Advance would play Pac-Man, and they saw the whole Pac-Man stage where everyone that was on the GameCube screen only saw like their ghost. They couldn't see anything else. And so, I mean, that was actually, looking back on that now, not even thinking about that, that's actually, they were planting,
ahead of the time.
exactly, they were planting things for the Wii U.
Right. A game that I played a lot on Game Boy Advance actually was, the Game Boy Advance GameCube connection, whatever, was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty excited because I had just finished Final Fantasy X, and they had just announced Crystal Chronicles for GameCube, and I was really into Final Fantasy at the time, so I was pretty excited for that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've never been a big Final... I know, Josh, you've always been a pretty big Final Fantasy guy, but I've just never really gotten into the series. I enjoy Kingdom Hearts, but I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy. After the Game Boy Advance, the DS came out. And the original DS, it was absolutely hideous. It was a really ugly system. But I remember, Josh, with the DS, it came out November 21st of 2004. And it was $150. And I got it for Christmas that year. I think you did too. We both got it for Christmas. Because I remember that year, I'm a Indianapolis Colts fan, and we were going to the Colts game. It was me and you, and remember, and my dad and Artie, remember? And we were all going to go to the Colts game.
The game Peyton Manning broke the touchdown. Touchdown
Yes,
record.
it was when Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne broke the touchdown record, which didn't only last like a year or two before someone else. I think Tom Brady broke it. But I just remember going to the game, and on the way back, we both had Super Mario 64. Remember we were doing the multiplayer on that. Do you remember that?
Super Mario 64.
Remember Super Mario 64 DS?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, on the DS.
Now I know what you're
talking about. It also had the Metroid Prime Hunters demo because that was really all we both had. So we were playing those two things over and over again.
I don't remember that, but now that I know the games.
Yeah.
So.
Everyone always complains, why can't they remake Mario 64? They did! And it was on the Nintendo.
They added 3 other characters.
They did. You could play as Yoshi, Luigi, and Wario, and they all had different abilities. So it kind of changed the way you had to play the game, which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I had that system for like a year, I think.
Yeah.
But I ended up selling it. Just because at the time, now it has an amazing lineup of games. I'm not going to deny it that. But at the time, it just didn't have anything I felt I really cared for.
Yeah.
And to me, the thing just felt flimsy and I don't know. This goes back to the 3DS too. It just felt like more like a toy. Some other people have said that too. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It just lacked that factor for me.
When the DS came out, I mean, the DS, during that time, Nintendo was just raking in the money because they had the DS and the Wii, 2 of the most popular systems of all time. But when the DS launched, it was before mobile gaming really caught on. And so a lot of the launch games were like what you get in mobile cell phone games now. They had like Pac Picks, the game where you would draw Pac-Man to solve puzzles, and they had Yoshi Touch and Go, where it was a game where Yoshi it was what do you call it? Endless runner game where he would run. You had to draw the clouds to make him run, and I mean, and they had Brain Age. They had Nintendogs. I mean, this is when Nintendo was like cranking up the casual games. They had Rhythm Heaven, Elite Beat Agents. The one big game for me on Nintendo DS, Professor Layton. The Professor Layton series. I fell in love with Professor Layton. Those games are awesome, and I've got every game in that series. That's the one thing I pulled away from the Nintendo DS was the Professor Layton series. That game, that was so awesome. But I know, Josh, you said you sold yours. But Corey, what about the DS for you? Any good memories on that one?
I didn't get a DS until the DS Lite came out because, Nintendo has a history of redesigning their systems. So I was waiting, and then they announced the DS Lite right when I was about to cave and buy the hideous one. I was like, I'm just going to wait. So
good choice.
I don't remember what game I got with it, but I just remember playing the 2 Zelda games. They were all right.
Sure.
But, see, again, the DS kind of came out at a time in that span where I wasn't too into handheld gaming.
Sure.
I was into I was in my sophomore year of college when I got a DS and Wii came out, so we were all kind of into Wii Sports, and my DS just kind of collected dust.
Sure.
But, I mean, there's a few solid games on there. The Metroid game on there was pretty good. But,
Yeah, I mean,
I have a handful of games.
sure. I mean, another interesting game on there. I don't know if I'm a pretty big Star Fox guy, and what they had a Star Fox game on there called, I think it was called Star Fox Command, where it's sort of what Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo was supposed to be, where instead of going planet to planet and just going through your story, before each level you would like draw lines of where your ships would go on this map, and you could either take them to a planet, you could take them to pick up supplies. I mean, there are all sorts of different things you had to do, and then after everyone's turn, you'd have like these little contained dogfights. And it was actually a pretty ambitious game, just for the fact that it had like multiple endings depending on what planet you went to, what characters you used. There were tons of different endings to this game, which was actually pretty cool.
That sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It was kind of hard to control because you had to use touch controls. I mean, it was kind of wonky in some places, but if you haven't played Star Fox Command, it's probably almost impossible to find.
Now
But
it is, yeah.
that's a game I have. It's actually a really good game. But I guess the Game Gear was the last major system to really compete with Nintendo, because there were other stuff that came out. There was like the Lynx and the N-Gage and all these other handhelds that they didn't even hold a candle to Nintendo. Like they just weren't competitive. Where the Game Gear, it was pretty competitive with the Game Boy. It didn't make Game Boy sales, but a lot of people had a Game Gear. But then after 2004, when that DS came out, the next year Sony decided they were going to get in the handheld market, and they released the Sony PSP. Your brain, it's like your head explodes. That actually came out in April of 2005. However, at launch, it was $250. That's $100 more than Nintendo's handheld, and it obviously got off to a rough start. Did either of you guys have a PSP?
No.
I had one for a while, but it was at a time where I wasn't making much money right out of school, and like I played the 2 God of War games, which were arguably the best 2 games in the series, especially Ghost of Sparta, and I dabbled in Metal Gear Peace Walker.
Oh yeah.
Which was pretty good, but those were the only games I really played for that.
Okay, and like with the PSP, it kind of did what the Game Gear did. It wanted to be the console in your hands. Where Nintendo, they're like, here's your handheld games, these are over here, here's your console games, the higher res stuff, this is over here. So what Sony, and like I said, previously with the Game Gear, they wanted to say, here is your console, it's in your hands, you have it with you all the time. And so that's why it was so much more expensive. But I mean, graphically, it blew the DS out of the water. I mean, in all these games you played on your console, you could, kind of play on your handheld, like, Corey mentioned with God of War and with Metal Gear Solid. They even had Rock Band on there, Resistance Retribution. I mean, it was a third-person shooter, but it was, part of the Resistance series. They had a Killzone game. They had Daxter, which was, I love that game. Was so good. I love that game. That game, spin off of the Jak and Daxter series. Actually, when I got my PSP, I got it with Mega Man Powered Up, which was a remake of Mega Man 1. It was so like it was like very anime-ish graphics, and actually added 2 more bosses to the original game. Added Oil Man and Time Man, and I mean cool. it was so good. And so I beat that so many times. But the great thing about that game, I mean, it had the main game which you played through, but it had a challenge mode where you played as each of the individual bosses. And so you could use the boss's abilities to get through these challenges. So, I mean, that was probably one of my favorite games on that system. But that, with the PSP, I really enjoyed it, and I would still have it. However, system, I let my brother borrow it, and it got stolen out of his car.
Of course.
So after that happened, it was just gone. So that was pretty sad. But with the PSP, it had those little weird UMD discs, remember? That was just like a pain in the butt. The battery life wasn't that long because I had to make that stupid little disc spin to read it. I mean, the problem with trying to push handhelds that far before they were ready, I mean, there were a lot of limitations because it's just going to kill your battery. It's going to be much more expensive. I mean, although the PSP had some really great games.
That all eventually made its way to PS3.
Yeah.
And don't forget, but Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together. That's probably the best game on there.
Sure.
I love that game.
Yeah, that game's really good.
Well,
I forgot about that one.
See, I've never even played that. I've never heard of it. I mean, what kind of? I'm assuming it's a strategy game.
Final Fantasy Tactics is the more known.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Type of game, but
Sure.
this game it was actually a remake of an older game. Corey, I don't know what system Tactics Ogre was for.
I think it was a PS1 game.
Okay.
I think.
But yeah, they just redid it, added tons of new things. Sort of like Persona 4 Golden adding tons of new things. I mean, It was just if you love tactics games, it's amazing.
Sure. And also to go back on your point earlier, Corey, about the God of War games, I actually didn't play those on PSP, but I bought the God of War collection, and they were on there, and so I did. I eventually played through those. It took some time, but I eventually got to those.
Yeah, Ghost of Sparta was amazing. I thought that was. It might be better than 2. To be honest with you, it was a solid game. Short, but solid.
Sure. I mean, those were really, really good games. I guess from there we're going to move on to current. What's happening currently? The Nintendo 3DS came out in 2011. When it launched, this is where Nintendo kind of kicked themselves. It launched for $249.99, so $250. And people are saying, "Man, this 3D is awesome, but I don't know if it's worth $250." And after only 6 months, they dropped it to $180. And that's where the Ambassador program came from. So if you bought a 3DS before that price drop, you got all these 8 Game Boy Advance games for free, which is fantastic. Although they never did bring Game Boy Advance games to the 3DS any other way. But the 3D on that, I mean, it was a good system. The original 3DS, I mean, it was so much smaller because I'm used to the XL now, but the original 3DS was so much smaller. But in the 3D, the sweet spot was kind of tough. I don't know. What about you, Corey? I mean, what do you think about the original 3DS design?
I ended up getting one right after the price drop.
Okay.
Because I wasn't paying $250 for a handheld.
No way.
But I loved it, but then I had to trade it in for an XL because I'm getting old and I can't see it. But the first one, I got the black one, and the 3D, I thought it was really awesome. The 3D, even though I got a headache after about 10
same
minutes.
Here, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
But the way that they could just project the 3D on the screen without wearing glasses was just, I was kind of blown away,
really cool.
Actually. I don't remember what game I got with it, but
probably Mario.
Yeah, probably. No, I think I got Ocarina of Time with it. I got Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Came out.
That's what I got when I bought mine as well. I got Ocarina of Time with it, and that Ocarina of Time 3D is how you remember it looking. Because if you go back and play the game on N64, it's all blurry and muddy, and everything's real blocky. But when you play it on the 3DS, it's fantastic. Oh, by the way, that game Ocarina of Time, they stopped the actual print production of that game. You can still get it on the eShop, but if you want a physical copy, if you see one, grab it. Because they're not producing those anymore. But that's a really, really good game.
A couple weeks ago, my cousin texted me. He says, "Do you have Ocarina of Time 3D for your 3DS?" I'm like, "Yeah." Why? He's like, "Because I can't find it anywhere, and the cheapest one on eBay is $64.99." I said, "Well, you could download it. It's probably cheaper there."
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
So I mean, if you care about collecting the physical copy, look for it. Otherwise, just download it. That is my advice to you. Josh, did you have a 3DS? I think you did have a 3DS at one time, right?
Yeah, what's funny, sort of like your PSP system,
Yeah.
mine just vanished. I have no clue what happened to this thing? And it
Wow.
drives me crazy to this day. What happened? It just was gone. I mean, it was like really magic. I probably just left it somewhere.
Probably.
Because at the time, I wasn't a big handheld gamer either.
Sure.
So I was just sort of like, whatever.
Sure.
But
I mean, with the 3DS though, even from, I mean, the first 6 months of the system or whatever it was before they dropped the price, before Ocarina of Time came out, there really wasn't that much on it. I mean, that's like Steel Diver and stuff. I mean, it was a lot of launch games and Dead or Alive. I actually had Dead or Alive Fighting on it. I actually had that. I forgot about that. Dead or Alive Fighting was on that, which is actually a pretty good game. But I mean, after Ocarina of Time came out, I mean, you had Star Fox 64 3D. You had Super Mario 3D Land, the Mario Kart on it. That was Mario Kart 7. And then more recently, I mean, we had Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. If you haven't played Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, buy it. I don't care if you have to go collect your pennies. That game is fantastic.
That is one game I wish utilized the new 3DS thumbstick.
Oh, yeah.
Though.
Sure.
Because as much as that game is awesome, I miss that stick from the GameCube one. So.
Sure. And also, I mean, Link Between Worlds, if you haven't played that yet, Link Between Worlds is a great game. And as I mentioned last time, when we talked about what we were playing, Monster Hunter 4, buy it. I mean, it's a very deep game, but Monster Hunter 4, and even Monster Hunter 3, which was, you could do cross-save between the Wii U version and the 3DS version, which was nice. But I mean, the 3DS has really made itself a great library. And with that, I mean, it came out in 2011. The XL came out in 2012. I upgraded to that XL and never looked back. I just couldn't go back to the smaller version. Even though the new Nintendo 3DS, they didn't release the smaller version in America yet. I mean, like I said in my predictions last time, I think they will. But even if they had the option, I'd still go with the XL. I just like having the bigger screen size and the way it fits in my hands. I've got, longer fingers, and so it just fits my hands much, much better.
Yeah, that new 3DS, the regular version is going to come out when they have a Pokemon game to bundle with it or something just to move units.
Sure.
You watch, it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, one interesting thing Nintendo did for some odd reason, what was it, 2 years ago now, they released a 2DS out of nowhere. I mean, it was mainly, I think, just from parents complaining, saying they didn't want to buy it for their kids because the 3D would hurt their eyes. But I mean, I've never held one. I've never seen one. I just know it was a blip on the radar, and Nintendo's never really even come out to say how it sold. They just bundle. They just say we've sold this many. I think they've sold over 50 million 3DSs now, but it's all just one big pile.
Right.
They don't
they
split
always
them
say
up.
the 3DS family.
Exactly. So we don't really know how they're doing, but I mean, 50 million units. That people say handheld gaming is dead, but 50 million units. That's pretty good.
Yeah. How many has that Vita sold there, Josh?
Actually,
Vita's biting into that 50 million right there.
Right.
No.
Well, let's get into the Vita real quick, because I mean, the Vita released in February of 2012, and just like the PSP, it was $250 at launch. And with that, they had a normal Wi-Fi version, and they had a 3G version where they partnered with AT&T, where you could, they had this whole Near program they were going to use with it. But at least from my perspective, since I never bought a Vita, I see it as, from what I've heard, it's mainly an indie machine. People use it for cross-buying their PS3 games, like there's cross-buys, and off-TV play for the PS4. Like, I mean, for original content, I mean, it's more of an accessory to the PS4, I feel, than a standalone system. I mean, Josh, since you're the one guy in this group that has a Vita, just enlighten us on that.
Poor Vita. This is what's got me back into handheld gaming, honestly. And an interesting fact, it actually has the highest attach rate of any system. I think it's like 12 games altogether on it.
Wow.
Which is impressive.
Sure.
I mean, there's no shortage of good games on this thing. People are quick to bash. There's just not enough games. Well, they're wrong. But the reason why I love it, I mean, if you love JRPGs, or any type of RPGs. I mean, it's a haven for that. And like you said, the great indie titles.
Yeah.
I love that it's cross-buy. Pretty much Sony has revolutionized everything with cross-buy. Now Nintendo's finally
right.
But yeah, I just
gotta
love
show that
that
Sony love.
play. No, it's just and Borderlands 2. That's one of the games that came with it for me.
Oh, okay.
But and it may not run the best, but I just think it's amazing that I can play Borderlands 2 on my handheld.
That is really
cool. I just
cool.
love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The technology. I mean, like comparing the DS and 3DS as a toy.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing just smokes it in that category.
Sure.
Which I'm not saying that's the best thing, because sales are obviously an indicator of that. But I appreciate that fact. I love the controls, dual analog sticks.
Yeah.
That's one thing that just bothered me about the DS in general.
Yeah.
I haven't played with the C stick on the new 3DS, so I don't know how that is. But,
sure.
Yeah, and then remote play. I mean, being able to take it wirelessly anywhere and play it on the PS4, which I thought I'd be using that a lot more. It doesn't work as well as I want it to.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a nice option to have.
Sure.
You know, if I want to. But there's more than enough games to justify having one.
Sure.
Persona 4 Golden that's the only game you need, really. So who am I to talk?
Sure.
Well, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the 3DS and the new C-Stick. I guess real quick, I've had the new 3DS, since launch. I'll just do a quick little review on it. People are asking me, is it worth it? Is it worth, buying a new one? Is it worth upgrading? And that really depends on you. The one thing I'll say about it, that it has super stable 3D, which is, that alone to me is a major selling point, because games now like Animal Crossing and Star Fox and all these games where you can just crank the 3D all the way up and it's solid. You don't lose that sweet spot anymore. It's how the 3D should have worked originally.
Star Fox is amazing with that.
I know. It's so good. And so that is fantastic. And the processing speed, you don't really realize how much faster it is until you go back to play an old one. Just getting into it's so much more. It's snappy. It's great. It just jumping into apps, jumping out of games, Miiverse, all that is so much better. But one thing I will say about the way they set up that analog nub and the LNR and the ZR and ZL buttons, I actually had the what was that called? Circle Pad Pro for the 3DS. Now I know a lot of people laugh at that, saying, "Why would you get that?" But I had it on Resident Evil Revelations, and it was fantastic. Having those set up where I could play with two of the circle pads versus the circle pad and the analog nub. The circle pads were so much better. It played like a regular controller. And the L and R and the LZ, RZ, they were, front and back to each other. Where on the new one, they're side by side. So I know Nintendo tried to, shrink down the size a little bit, but actually playing on that Circle Pad Pro and having that setup and getting used to that setup, maybe that's just sort of, mess with my judgment a little bit. Because what I'm worried about with that extra C-stick, if you remember those old laptops from the 90s, that little, mouse nub in the middle, that's what that C-stick is. It's one of those. So it's like this, not really soft, more like a harder rubber piece that, you can move the C-stick with. But if you remember those laptops in the 90s, after so much use, they would mess up. And the mouse would automatically start slowly drifting to the left, I'm afraid that's going to happen with these 3DSs over time, especially if you get a lot of work out of that C-stick. That could really mess it up. But
there's no calibration.
Exactly.
Option
There's no way to calibrate it. So that's one thing that kind of has me worried. But that's honestly, by the time that even becomes an issue, the next Nintendo handheld is going to be out. Because if you look at how the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color were and the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color was only out for 2 years before the Game Boy Advance hit. And really, Nintendo's going to be squeezing every dime they can out of this thing. Because it got Xenoblade Chronicles coming out. And it does, anything that used the Circle Pad Pro is backwards compatible with the new C-Stick, which is great. But I don't see them splitting their audience. I don't see them saying, with Xenoblade Chronicles, it's only available on the new 3DS. But I don't see them really splitting their audience, with the 3DS and the new 3DS, because that could probably cause some problems, especially for parents not knowing what they're buying.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest problem with them releasing this is that if you have someone that isn't knowledgeable about this, go into the store,
Exactly.
say, "Mommy, I want this." Okay, well, you got to get the adapter with it. And then
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't come with power supply either. Yeah,
they have
right.
to point that in the clerk. This is going to be a nightmare for them because they got to say, "Okay, you have to get this." Oh, you need a memory card too. So.
Well, no, the memory, not really. I mean, it comes with. With the PS Vita, I know that was a big problem with that. Because, I mean, the
that's
memory
my
cards
knock
were like
against
30.
the Vita.
It's like 30, 40 bucks a memory card. Because, I mean,
ridiculous.
Exactly.
If they cut that down, you have the best system ever. No,
Sure.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I guess my question to you guys now, just to end this topic of the episode, do you think handheld gaming, the next generation, is it going to stay the same? Or, I mean, some people are talking about, like, it's rumored the new Nintendo system might be a handheld console hybrid. I mean, I guess for closing comments, where do you think handheld gaming is going? What do you think, Corey?
I honestly think that handheld gaming isn't really going anywhere because its audience, especially for Nintendo, is kind of younger.
Sure.
But at the same time, we're getting older, and as we get older and start having kids, we're going to hand down our old smart devices to them, and they're going to start playing the free games. So it's got to do something special. I think Sony has the right idea with Vita, personally, with cross-buy and the what do you call it, where you can play your PS4 games on it.
Oh, the streaming.
Remote play.
Cross-play, remote play, right. It's gonna have to be something like that, as well as have its own games, I think, in order to be relevant in the market. But honestly, that's what people said when 3DS came out, and look, it sold 50 million units. So
absolutely. So we'll see what happens with that. What about you, Josh? What do you think's going down?
Well, first of all, Sony will not. I don't think they'll release another handheld. Personally, for me, just because how the Vita's doing, it's just not lucrative for them anymore.
Sure.
And like you said, Corey, I totally agree that our kids. I mean, my son plays on the iPad and the iPhone, and I mean, I think it's just going down more that way of just, it's easier to do the free-to-play things on the phones than trying to do that on a handheld device. And,
sure.
Nintendo, they always have something up their sleeve, and I think they will find another way to get another handheld out there that will work, but I think they'll be the only ones that will be successful with that.
Sure. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting because really these handhelds probably have a couple more years at most before whatever is going to get unveiled will come out. But, whatever it is, we'll be there waiting. We'll be there to talk about it.
It's virtual reality.
Right, and we'll probably, even though what we're saying now, we'll probably still buy them.
Right.
No matter what happens, we'll probably still keep on gaming. Because, I mean, that's what we love to do. We always love checking out the new technology. So, I mean, we're probably still going to check them out anyway. Well, guys, I mean, Corey, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. We're very glad to have you. We think it's awesome. The reviews you're writing, all that great content you're putting out, putting those out. And I think you're getting into video as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been working on that. It's kind of hard doing it by myself, but I've got a couple people lined up to come help me with stuff like that. So,
awesome.
I'm going to put those videos on YouTube as well as my website. So
cool. Well, I guess real quick, Corey, just remind people, where can they find you at, to find your material?
On Twitter, you can follow me at RogueSpartan4, or you can follow D-Pad at D-Pad Gamescast, all one word. Or you can like our Facebook page at D-Pad Gamescast. So
cool. Okay.
That's where you can find me.
Awesome. And also, this episode, about handheld game, we really enjoyed going back, talk about our memories, all the things we've been doing with that recently. Our next
Vita
episode.
Power.
That's right, Vita Power. Our next episode, we're gonna start talking about reboots and remasters. You know, things like, you know, with the Battletoads rumored to be coming back, and remasters like, you know, The Last of Us, which just came out on PS3. I mean, how soon is too soon to, you know, release a remaster on the next system? So, you know, we'll be covering that.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can always find us. We're on, you know, find us on iTunes. Rate us on iTunes, guys. We'd really appreciate that. You know, find us on Facebook, the Life of Gaming Podcast. Make sure to invite your friends to that. And find us on Google Plus, Life Gaming Podcast, and on Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod. You know, make sure to check that out. We always want to hear about your feedback. So, you know, if you have any ideas or, you know, anything you want to let us know about the show, just get a hold of us, because we love hearing it. We always try to make our shows better, improve our shows. So, I mean, until next time, guys, you know, thank you for tuning in. And for now, we are out.
Bye.